You know how we often think we need to get away to truly find peace? Like, if we could just get to Bali or some other perfect place, everything would slow down. Well, what if the real secret to that quiet, that tranquility, isn't about where you go? What if it's about how you live, right where you are? Let's dive into a story about someone who learned this lesson in the most powerful way possible.
So, I want you to meet Chris-Tia Donaldson. By any metric you can think of, she was a massive success. A high-powered lawyer, a celebrated author, and the founder of a huge company. Oh, and she had also just survived cancer. If anyone on Earth deserved a break, a moment of real peace, it was her.
And she did exactly what we all dream of doing. She went to Bali. I mean, just imagine it. You're looking out at this incredible, lush jungle. You can hear a river flowing below. There are 0 emails pinging, no meetings on the calendar. And for the first time in who knows how many years, her soul was just quiet. She'd finally found it, the stillness she'd been chasing. But right there, in that perfect, beautiful silence, this absolutely terrifying thought crept in. This feeling, this incredible peace, she realized she couldn't just pack it in her suitcase and take it home. It belonged to Bali. It wasn't hers, which of course begs the question.
This realization, it created this bizarre paradox for her. Here she was, in the middle of paradise, feeling completely stuck. To really get why she was so scared, you have to look at the life she had built. It was just a nonstop highlight reel of success. CEO, lawyer, entrepreneur, a life built on doing, on performing, on constant motion. It was absolutely packed with achievements, but it was missing the one ingredient that lets you actually enjoy any of it: stillness. But then, on her very last day there, a totally random encounter changed everything. It was this little piece of wisdom from a total stranger that just flipped a switch. So it's her last morning, and she kind of skeptically decides to visit a spiritual reader she'd heard about. She's sitting there, honestly not buying any of it, and she's just about to get up and leave when the reader says something that stops her in her tracks. The reader just looks her in the eye and says, "Look, girl, it's not about Bali the place. It's about finding the Bali within you." For a woman who had literally flown halfway across the planet to find this feeling, those words just hit like a lightning bolt. And this was the big idea. The key that unlocked everything. The Bali within. It's not a destination, right? Not a place on a map you can fly to. It's a state of mind. It's about the daily practice of finding that same peace, that same presence in your normal everyday life. And this new idea, it forced her to see her whole life differently. She suddenly realized she wasn't just a tourist visiting Bali. She had become a tourist in her own life. All of a sudden, this memory comes flooding back, an email she'd barely even registered before her trip. It was an announcement that a colleague had passed away from breast cancer, the exact same disease Chris-Tia had just fought and survived. She called it her "oh shit" moment. It was like looking in a mirror and seeing her own mortality staring back. She saw it so clearly. She'd been living her life on layaway, always putting rest off till later, always thinking, "oh, I'll slow down next week," or "I'll be more present next year," or "I'll finally feel peace on that next vacation." But that email and her own battle just shattered that whole illusion. Think about it this way. A tourist in Bali, right? They're looking for a temporary escape. They feel good for a week, and then they come right back home to the same old stress. Well, a tourist in life does the exact same thing, but every single day. They're constantly putting off rest, just living for that next little escape, and they never ever feel truly at home in their own life. So if the answer isn't a plane ticket, then what is it? How do you actually create that peace for yourself? Well, this is the practical part, building your own Bali from the inside out. Okay, finding the Bali within is a beautiful idea, right? But what does it actually look like? I mean, what do you do? Well, Chris-Tia didn't just leave it as some vague concept. She broke it down into real, concrete actions. She came up with 4 key practices. First, it starts with being grateful for the life you already have, right now. Second, you have to create real boundaries, not fake ones, but actual rules that protect your time and your energy. Third, you have to spend time with people who actually nourish you, who lift you up instead of draining you. And finally, the whole point of all this is to build an everyday life that you actually want to come home to, not one you're constantly trying to escape from. And all of this work, all these practices were pointing her toward one incredibly powerful goal: to build a life that finally felt like coming home. And you've got to hear it in her own words. She said, I had to make it a life I wanted to come home to, a life that I felt relaxed in, a life that had more meaning than just being a CEO. Listen to those words. She didn't say a life she was proud of or one that was optimized. She wanted a life that felt like home, relaxed, meaningful.
Her story just hits so hard because, let's be honest, we live in a culture that treats being busy like it's a virtue, right? The person with the craziest schedule, the most packed calendar, we often think they're the most important. Chris-Tia was that person, and her story is like a gentle but firm hand on our shoulder saying, hey, there's another way.
And here's what makes her wisdom so incredibly powerful and poignant. Chris-Tia Donaldson passed away in 2021. She didn't get the long, peaceful life that she absolutely deserved, but in the time that she had, she figured out what life was supposed to feel like. And thank goodness for us, she wrote it all down.
So you see, her story isn't just about her journey to Bali. It's really a mirror for all of us, and it leaves us with one simple but really urgent question. What are you waiting for?